What's up, bros? Welcome to the Men of Mind podcast. I'm Omar Bravo, and this is the podcast all about badass knack bros and their journeys through life. From the bad beats and the lessons learned to the mountaintop successes and advice they'd give their younger selves, this is your chance to get to know these bros better. In this episode, I talk with Esquivel, Eta Chapter founding father number 10 from Santa Clara University. Orale.
What's up, man?
What's up, my brother?
Living the life, my man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well.
Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you. It's been too long. I was trying to figure out exactly how long, and
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the vicinity of 20-ish years. So, like I said, too long.
Once you get past 2, it's all the same, man. It's a long freaking time ago.
Yeah, but we pick up where we left off, right? So
absolutely, that's the beauty of the brotherhood, man.
That's good, bro. So let's dig into it, man. We've been starting these podcasts the exact same way. I just ask everybody, just as a baseline, you married with kids, you single and ready to mingle, or you somewhere in between?
That's funny. Definitely the first one, very much the third one. For the first one, I have a 4-year-old and a soon-to-be 2-year-old. She'll be 2 next week, actually, next Friday. So things are plenty loud around here. I mentioned to you in our email, trying to navigate around their schedule to schedule this when they're with Nana Pop-Pop, which they are right now. So, but yeah, so, just kind of with this pandemic and working from home and, being, a lot more than I used to be. Yeah. It just showed me the silver lining of a really crappy situation that we found ourselves in back in 2020, like as bad as things were, not being able to do things, and just having our lives completely turned upside down. The upside was I didn't have to spend 1 to 2 hours a day commuting to an office Monday through Friday. I turned that time into time with my girls on the front end of our day, having breakfast with them or putting them down to bed or whatever. So, were it not for the pandemic, that probably wouldn't have been the case. It wouldn't be nearly that much as far as the amount of time I would have gotten to spend with them. So I choose to be the optimist and glass half full kind of guy. So, that was the cool thing about it. So,
yeah, it's really wild because a lot of folks are talking about the detriment that the pandemic and homeschooling and the likes, working remotely has had on our kids and our social lives. And at the same time, parents especially have been, I'll say, forced to put more time and effort in. And I think that's been a really good thing.
Yeah. I think it's really age dependent because I have a cousin for the kids as far as, what grade level of school are you talking? For me, it's not nearly as bad as it could be in terms of the amount of work that I, become a teacher as well as my day job, I'm thinking of my cousin. He's got 3 all within, the grade school range who are all at home at the same time, trying to do school on video, and he's trying to work from home as well. Mm-hmm. So he's dad's / teacher / doing his job. I kept telling him, man, how in the hell do you do that? And I know everyone that had kids in grade school or, that age range were going through the same thing. And I'm my hat's off to them, man, because that must have been just nuts. And I can understand why they couldn't wait for things to get lifted and for the kids to go actually get out of the house and go back to school. So,
well, and I think it gets even worse when with the kids in junior high and high school, where young kids, they're still happy to be with their parents. They want to spend time at home and, oh, great, my parents are home more. This is awesome. Whereas the older kids that want nothing to do with their parents, they just want to be with their friends. I mean, it's pretty torturous. So yeah, I think you're right that it is very age dependent.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy dynamics that get introduced there once you get, middle school age, because then they're too cool for school, and
Yeah.
I can't be around my parents, and you get attitude and stuff. Either way, it's difficult, whether
Sure.
they're grade school or middle school and up, there's just different challenges. And I guess that's, the ending lesson is we just figure out how to navigate, man. That's the best we can do. So, and that's the thing that I took from it was, you take it day by day. I talked about the positives that I took from that time frame. We definitely had some low points, some hard times for our family. We lost some loved ones, and we had it back in December of 2020 towards the holidays time. So all but one of us had it. And so trying to, figure out how to quarantine a then 3-year-old from the rest of the house that had COVID was not a fun time, man. That was a nightmare.
Impossible.
A total nightmare, man. I don't know how I got through it. And just thank God that nothing happened to the 3 of us that had it. And then also, we were able to quarantine Evie, my oldest, enough to the point where she was able to skate through and not have to deal with it. So definitely some highs and lows, but like I said, you just take it day by day and do the best you can. So I know I'm not alone.
It's been a wild 2 years, that's for sure.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to getting back to doing fun stuff outside the house, getting the girls, out doing fun things and seeing the world that's out there, because that totally got put on pause. And I feel like my older one, she was 2 when it hit. And so even at that young age, she had already done a good amount as far as, going places. We took her to Disneyland already. And so my little one, she's got no concept of that right now. Mm-hmm. She's done so little compared to her older sister. I'm so eager to change that and to, start doing fun stuff like taking those trips and going and doing stuff and just enjoying, being out and about more again. I almost forgot what that feels like. So
so you got 2 girls. That's so I've got 5, but my 3 oldest are girls, and then we had 2 boys. What's that like for you being a girl dad?
Man, it's funny. Everybody, when I tell them I've got 2 girls, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna try for that third? You gotta try for a boy." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm totally good." Like, I took a page out of Kobe Bryant's book, and it's just like embrace the girl dad role, because they are who they are, and to me, they're just amazing, and they, the way that they look at me, it just lights me up, and so I realize that that's likely going to change in terms of how they look at me once they hit that too cool for school phase that we were talking about earlier. And there's a good chance I might become the Antichrist at some point soon. But until that day, I'm, they're daddy's girls, and I can totally see that. And I can see, characteristics about myself in them and what they're doing in their daily lives. And that's the coolest feeling ever. And so for now, while I'm still riding that wave of daddy being cool, it's all good. Once that changes, when we hit middle school and puberty, that, from what I've been told by, the other bros with daughters, it's like, you find your way through it, and they come back around eventually. It's just a matter of time. It happens to everybody. So don't trip.
Yeah, I think that's some pretty good advice. I know that through my journey, when we first started thinking about having kids, it was I didn't know what to do with a girl. I was like, oh, God better give me boys, because I don't know how to. I wouldn't know the first thing about raising a girl. And when my wife first told me she was pregnant, all that went out the window. It's like I didn't care. I was like, give me a healthy baby. I don't care what it is. And then when he kept giving us girls, it was like, well, I guess I need girls. That must be what it is,
Yeah. So. Yeah. That was kind of the same conclusion I came to. What can I do about it? Absolutely nothing other than love my babies. Yeah. And, I kind of had a similar similar feeling that you described, but more out of fear because, like, I was just thinking about, to me, especially with Evie, my first, the thought of bringing up a girl in the world today, in today's world,
Mm-hmm.
just scared the hell out of me, just because how, just nuts things are now, as far as the different things that can impact girls, especially at a young age, and the pressure that society puts on them to get older quicker. And I feel like that rate has even increased more recently with the internet, as far as that race to be cool and sexy, and those social norms on what a woman should look like, that are all BS. But the littles don't know that. All they know is that's what their friends are doing. That's what they want to do. And you're starting to see that at a much younger age. And so, there's all those other bad things that come with that just scared the crap out of me until the day she was born. And I held her and I was like, like you said, all of that was out the window.
Yeah.
It's like, there's nothing that can beat this. We're good. And, let's get going.
Yeah. Well, whatever the challenges are, that's why we're here to face them head on, and let's go. It is what it is.
Yeah. You should YouTube that, the Kobe Memorial, where I forget her name, the female sportscaster that was describing the night of his death. She was on live and she was talking about her first interaction, or actually first and only interaction with Kobe. And he was talking because she was pregnant at the time, and she told him that she was having a girl. And so he kind of described the girl dad kind of, motif and what that meant to him. And I took so much from that, what he was saying. And so I kind of adopted that and kind of, all right, yeah, that's the way that I'm going to roll. And that's the dad I'm going to be for my girls, and being as involved as I can to promote whatever goal that they have, be that enabler, be that positive influence that's going to make everything possible for them, like every parent wants to feel, but just do the best we can.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, bro, let's dig into the past. Where were you born and raised? Where are you growing up from?
I'm from San Jose. So kind of east side San Jose originally, Evergreen district. So did public school down there, and then ended up at Bellarmine, like a couple of other bros that are from our chapter.
Lots of bros are from Bellarmine.
Said that kind of facetiously, but yeah, that was kind of where I started out, and then after finishing up at Bell, went to Bellarmine Part 2 at Santa Clara, because they're literally right down the street from one another. And I know our incoming class, our freshman class from Santa Clara, we had 36 guys coming from Bellarmine, from my graduating class at Bellarmine, coming as freshmen into Santa Clara. There were 36 of us, which I thought was like, oh my God. So there was a reason why they call Santa Clara Bellarmine Part 2. Because it literally is right down the street, and the number of guys that end up going there is usually a pretty solid number. So yeah, that's San Jose's where.
I've never heard anybody say anything really, anybody that went to Bellarmine say anything bad about Bellarmine. It seems like it was just an overwhelmingly positive experience.
I think it depends on who you talk to, because I know I've talked to people that had different experiences that I did that were not nearly as positive. And there's varying factors for that. It could be a personal thing, ideological. Maybe they're just forced to be there to begin with. I have a relative who just transferred out because he wasn't there for the right reasons. He was there for his dad, and and things just didn't go right for him. And his path was in a different direction, and he's now much happier at a different spot. And so that's really all that matters, right? He's on his pathway to success, and he's feeling much more comfortable with it. So, at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. But, for those of us that look back on it fondly, which I know I've got a ton of friends that feel the same way that I do, it's such a unique experience that initially I know I was really turned off about not having girls at school, coming from a public school. But I quickly got over that and just saw all the benefits that came from going to that school. And then to this day, we just had our reunion last year, and seeing the guys and seeing just how tight we still were, and just the amazing things that these guys have done in life. We've got people all over the country that are doing just some just ridiculously cool stuff for work, and just to think that we were all coming out of the same spot and being generated from that same environment, to see us all go in those different directions and do really cool things, was awesome to see. But at the same time, just still kind of, experience that same feeling that we all had that was pretty strong going back to Bellarmine, and kind of the principles that it promotes, the core one being just being a man for others, and kind of living your life in that channel, and just being a positive influence. I think that philosophy was something that they put it front and center. And I took that with me since then, and it stays with you. It's in my opinion, it's a good way to live. And so that's why it kind of resonated with me, and it's just grown. And so now I'm kind of paying that forward as far as, with my girls and with my family as well, that, hey, that's something to strive for.
I admire that piece so much, the man built for others, because I stumbled across that on my own journey, and I saw it in my father and my older siblings, but I never had those words put to it. And then once those words were put to it, I picked it up from a book about a high school football coach somewhere along the lines. And that's the way I live my life, and that's the way I wake up every day. It's like, I'm not here for myself, I'm here for others. And so to hear that it was being instilled in young high school boys, like that's amazing to me. That's absolutely game changing. So
yeah. It's a bigger picture approach to education, more than just your typical book smarts. There's philosophy in there about how to live your life. It's buried in there, but it makes its way to the surface as far as the overall lessons that you're taking from your time there. And that, in my opinion, if I had to try to put my thumb on it, that's what I would say makes that place so special. And us being so fortunate to have had a chance to go there and experience it.
With so many of the Bell guys going to Santa Clara, were you there when Mark Coito was there, or were you there?
Yeah, we came in at the same time.
Exact same time. Who else was in your class, if anybody?
Freshman year from Bell. Trying to think. Nothing. No. Well, just of the founders, yeah. I don't think that. It's so funny because I was testing myself this morning in anticipation of this call. I did a roll call in my head just to test myself. Do I still remember it?
And did you?
I remember the first half like spot on. It's the back half. I had to kind of put names together. I don't think I have the sequence quite right, but I know I got everybody. So it's Chewy, Sean, Oscar, Sean, Ray, Eloy, Mikey, Vince, Berto, me, Jim, Jose, Chris, and John. So of those, there's no other Bell guys except for me and John. And then I know Johnny came in as part of the Alpha class. And then from there, we were off and running as far as the number of guys that we saw with Bell diplomas in their hand that were pledging for us.
Let's talk about how did your folks end up in San Jose? You said that you guys were on the east side. Were they originally, were their parents from there, or how did they end up in San Jose?
No, my grandparents are originally from Mexico, but that's kind of where they settled. So, and my natural parents, they met while going to high school at Silver Creek. So,
Silver Creek, okay.
So they, well, actually, my dad ended up at Overfelt, but my mom stayed at Silver Creek. But they both grew up in that same area that is not really that far from each other. My grandparents' old house is over by Reed Hillview Airport. off of Tully. And then my dad's family's house is over closer to King and right where King hits 280.
Okay.
Pal Stadium.
So you've got deep roots in San Jose.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, for sure. Especially on that side of town. My memories of San Jose are pretty spread out because for whatever reason, and I've never really thought to ask my mom why this was the case. We moved around a lot. We just, we lived on different sides of the city. Be that kind of, the Bird Avenue. I know we were in Willow Glen for a little bit. We obviously on the east side. And then where else were we? When I started at Bellarmine, we lived off of Virginia, closer to downtown. And from there, we were in Santa Clara for a little bit, and then after that, off to school.
You did move around a lot.
All over the place. But as far as my anchors, those are those two spots that I mentioned initially, because those were my grandparents' house. They don't move.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't move. They stay in the same place. And I spent a lot of time with both of them. Given you're the first of all the grandchildren, and both your parents are working. So where are you going? You're going to Mount Pop-Up's house. So that's the same way that my girls are doing right now. That's what I was doing. And that's a big reason why I moved out to Sacramento, was to enable that. Previously, I was living in Alameda, and my parents are here in Sac. So the amount of time that they got to spend with them wasn't nearly as much as we wanted it to be. And just a number of things just kind of lined up back in 2019, where we were already thinking about the possibility of moving out here and getting out of the Bay, where we just were like, okay, it's time. Let's just go. And then 6 months later, bam, we're in a pandemic and we can't go anywhere. So
it worked out.
But yeah, so as far as where I came up, like I said, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house. So that kept me, on that side of town.
And so was it just you, or you got siblings?
So on my mom's side, I'm an only child. I have step brothers and a stepsister that are on my dad's side. And my steps are all live in Bakersfield now. So don't get to see them as much as I would like. Yeah. So, coming into an organization like Nu Alpha Kappa and, offering me that ability to, have another set of brothers, that, because I have two cousins that I consider, my brother and my sister, that we were really, really close in age, and we grew up together. Those are what I have always seen as my quote unquote siblings. That when I got to Santa Clara and when, with NAC, it was just like, okay, here's my chance to have that the bigger multiple sibling kind of type of family and environment.
Yeah, it sounds like officially you were an only child, but not really, but kinda.
Yeah.
And then coming into an organization like NAC, it's that kind of just explodes that understanding.
Yeah. The whole extended family concept gets multiplied many times over. So,
just out of curiosity, does your wife come from a big family, or?
She's one of four.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got all sisters. So right. I like to tell her that's the reason why I've got two daughters. Her DNA won the battle. So
the whole reason I ask is because I'm youngest of 9, but then my wife is an only child. Yeah. And then I have 62 first cousins, and she has 5. Wow. And so it's this really, I was just curious.
Interesting dynamic, right? Just coming up.
Yeah. And over the past, whatever, we just celebrated our 13th anniversary. We've been together for like 15 years. And over those past 15 years, she has completely fallen in love with the big family type of environment, and sees all the benefits and the whatever negatives there are, the challenges there are with the big family. But no, it's good. It's good. So that's awesome. You're living in Sac now, huh? What? And your parents moved out there first?
They've been out here since around 2000, I think, is when They
Oh, wow.
moved.
Long time. Okay.
Yeah, they've been here a while. My dad's company was in Sunnyvale back in the day when they were still in the Bay, and they were moving out here this direction. And they told my dad, you come with us and still have a job, or don't.
No.
And best of luck to you."
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was at that point, he was with them for upwards of 20 something years. So he was like, all he had to do was figure out what he could get for his money out here in Sacramento at that time. And it was a done deal. They were like, we're moving out there. And which was kind of a bummer for me, because I at that point in 2000 was in my second year of law school in LA at USC. And so the whole time I was in LA, I was really looking forward to coming back to the Bay and, getting back to living in the same area as my family. And, I was, due to be back in 2001. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not that far off, another year to enjoy LA, come back and everything's going to be all good. And then, I got that call. Well, so we're moving to Sacramento. I'm like, damn, Sacramento. No.
Let's talk about this for a sec. So am I correct? You got a JD MBA at USC?
JD MBT, Master in Business Tax. So similar. It's out of the same school of business,
but it was still like that combo degree, 3-year type of thing.
Yeah. I crammed 2 degrees into 3 years.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. I understand, like, you were obviously going full time, but still, that's no joke. Especially if and correct me if I'm wrong. You at Santa Clara, your undergrad was a comm major, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm an engineer, and so comm majors were notorious for maybe not being the most challenging, but then you made up for it with the JD MBT. That's
yeah. I mean, that the other thing that damn near killed me was I started the MBT portion of that kind of late in the game. So I was not only was I trying to cover a lot of ground, but I was making up for lost ground coming in. That made for a really tough third year of law school, where typically when you talk to folks that just did a JD, their third year, especially if they've already got a job lined up after second summer, they're skating. Third year is chill mode. Like, just, I'm on autopilot. Just I'm enjoying life. It's my last year to really kind of just, chill. I had the exact opposite experience of that, because I was working my ass off to get all those requirements met, because the last thing I wanted to do was have to extend into the summer or anything past the May graduation date of the 3L year. But in order to do that, it was a tall order, and there was a lot of stuff that I had to cover to get all the units that I needed to get all the requirements checked off. So it was rough. It was such a long time ago. That's probably why I can't remember much. But even right after, I couldn't remember much, just because I was just that crazy busy, and there was just a million things going on at once.
What was going and getting a JD always part of the plan when you were a comm major? Because most folks thinking about a JD are usually like poli-sci as an undergrad. Yeah.
Well, for me, not necessarily. When I was at Santa Clara, it was something that I kind of had in the back of my mind, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, I was born to be an attorney, so I'm going to law school. It wasn't anything like that. What ended up happening was, because I was doing broadcast journalism as my emphasis. And so I was at KNTV, the ABC affiliate in San Jose, the last 2 years, or the last year and change of my Santa Clara time. And I turned that into an actual job once after graduation that was kind of on a part-time basis. But my goal was, all right, let's see if I can parlay this into an associate producer position. If I do want to go this path and I want to commit to being in news behind the camera, being on the production side, being the writer, being, the producer side of that, this is as good a ground as any to kind of figure that out for myself with real world experience, to see if this is, one, something that I'm passionate about, and two, that I have a path towards. This is the ultimate proving ground right here for that. So I was doing that, but I was doing it part-time, and I was doing it at night. I was on the 11 o'clock news. So I still kind of had the law school idea in the back of my head, and I kind of wanted to see that out as well. So what I was doing was I was volunteering during the day at a East San Jose Community Law Center organization that is over off of Story and Story and King. And so I was volunteering for that, doing just, everything from landlord-tenant law to debtor-creditor issues, just total volunteer basis. And, that kind of opened my eyes a little bit more. And so I kind of was like, okay, I want to push this a little bit further. And so I got to the point where I was like, okay, here's my jumping off point. I need to decide pathways. And so I decided to go with law because my heart just wasn't in it enough to fully commit to the broadcast side of things, mainly because of just the hell that you have to go through to get to success where broadcast is concerned. And this is all my opinion. Someone else could have a completely different opinion and, have plenty of good reasons for why that's right. My viewpoint was the tough road that you have to prove yourself on the front end of a broadcast career takes you to places that, you don't want to live, because those are the small markets where there's more work available, and that's your proving ground. So you pay your dues working in those smaller markets, and then you kind of work your way up. And then over time, you end up back in San Francisco at, one of the top 5 media markets in the country, arguably in the world. You just don't walk into that out of the gate, out of school, So I felt like I just didn't love it enough to be able to commit and put that much into it to survive that front end work to get to the back end. And so I thought, no, I'm more passionate about the law side of things. Let's push this even more. So I went to work for a more corporate type of law firm. And then that kind of springboarded me into law school, because that's when I ended up at SC. I got there from having finished up work for that IP firm.
Talk to me about the difference between Santa Clara and SC.
God, it's night and day. Well, no, I think there's plenty of similarities. Just in the realm of the private institution, long history, a lot of generations that have gone there. You're going to school with folks that you're in class with that you recognize that their last name is on a building somewhere on campus. Right. That's not uncommon at SC as well. I think the thing that's just off the charts different is just the size, man. SC is ginormous. And as well as I do, just how small the campus Santa Clara can be, and the impact that has on your life as a student. It just translates into a wholly different experience from a day-to-day life perspective as a student. And then my experience is very unique in that I went there and got the grad school experience, which is very different from the undergrad. I got a glimpse of what the undergrad experience looks like just from being on campus as much as I was. Looked like a lot of fun. I won't lie. But just the overall size of the place, man, and just the history and the tradition. And I fell in love with the place, man. I know there's a lot of bros that give me a lot of crap because they say I completely forgot about Santa Clara when I went to SC because of, they see all the stuff that the SC stuff that I'm wearing, or the stuff that's on my car, or just, whatever. And, my response is, Santa Clara had that type of environment that kind of, that had that ability to create that following or that spirit. It's just an unfair comparison when you're talking about an athletic program and a school as big as SC versus Santa Clara. The priorities are different, and they put their eggs in different baskets, and they're good in different ways. That creates a different experience amongst the student body that translates into the alumni network. So Again, the sizes are apples and oranges in terms of size of the alumni network. But I've seen that firsthand from SE and the doors that can open. It's happened for me personally. Things have opened up when SC comes up and they're like, oh yeah, I'm class of so-and-so. And, oh, I had Professor so-and-so for, I had Chemerinsky for con law, just like you did. That's awesome. And we and then we're off and running from there in terms of, our common experience. Not to say that doesn't happen for Santa Clara, but it's just such a wider net when you're talking about SC.
Yeah. It's an economy of scale for sure.
Yeah.
What was what made you decide to add on the MBT?
Well, it was a tax law class that I took through the law school. That it just clicked for me. Like just the concepts, the strategy, the analytical side of things that came with applying the rule set that came from the tax code and the regs and stuff. The fact that it touched all kinds of different areas, like you can go in multiple different directions, whether it's, at the individual personal level for, yours taxes and my taxes, things going that direction, or thinking about it from an organizational perspective, whether that's a for-profit, big, huge C Corp, or, a smaller organization that's an S Corp that's, designed to help out, on the volunteer front. There's tax aspects to that as well. International to state, there's just all these different facets of it that just kind of tweak the model a little bit. And I was just kind of intrigued by that. I know it's the running joke around my house that, what my wife is teaching our girls, what does daddy do? And the response that they've been programmed with is numbers, boring. And they respond in kind just exactly like that. So I'm like, hey, I can't argue it's numbers, but I don't think it's boring.
So are you, and have you been practicing? Are you more on the accounting side, or are you more on the legal side?
No, I work for an accounting firm.
Did you take did you take and pass the bar? Did you have to take and pass the bar?
Yeah, I did.
But were you ever a practicing attorney?
Not after graduation. Right. No. Yeah, I went. So when I graduated from SC, I came back to the Bay and worked for one of the big four accounting firms right out of the gate. And I was with them for I was with PwC for like 12 years and then transitioned over to my current spot. And I've been there for 6, going on 6. So it's a smaller firm. It's not big four, but it's, kind of mid-market. It's more my speed. So it's worked out really well. And
so you're kind of like a super accountant, as opposed to,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I say that in light of like perhaps somebody that's just I'll say just a CPA.
Well, I mean, we're all working from the same set of rules. So we come at it from a different direction. And I think we just got a different tool set than the accountants do. The accountants have some tools in their bag that I don't have. Or for somebody that's just got a JD, that's going to be the case more so. My having an MBT kind of levels the playing field a little bit in terms of, I've got those accounting concepts that I was familiar and comfortable with coming in the gate. But it's not uncommon for guys or people to come out with their JD and go to work for an accounting firm and work more on the consulting side, not so much on the prep and the number crunching side, more on the the international, the mergers and acquisitions, the planning consulting side of things. That's where their attorney sweet spot is when it comes to working for an accounting firm, and that's what I was doing primarily. When I went to PwC, I was working in their M&A practice, which is different than what I'm doing now. I'm still consulting, just doing it in a different way. I'm no longer in M&A. I'm more on the credits and incentive side.
Got it. Yeah, I just haven't met many many accountants or folks in the accounting field that have JDs from SC. That's
Yeah.
seems really like, oh wow, this is going to cost a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap, but it is what it is.
It's good. And when I say it's going to cost a lot, I mean your services.
Oh yeah, that too. That too.
That's great. That's great. Let's take it back to what year? What year were you when you pledged for NAC?
What year?
In school, were you a freshman, sophomore?
Oh, I think it was my sophomore. No, going into junior year. Yeah, it was the summer between sophomore and junior year.
And how'd you get wrapped up with the group?
Well, I knew NAC in high school, actually. So
From
my
San
days
Jose?
go, yeah. So I knew a lot of the bros from San Jose from Alpha Chapter, their founders and their Alpha class. Jason Candelario, Robert Durr, Angel. I knew a lot of those guys, and it had to do with my then girlfriend at the time. Her sister was a Lambda
At San Jose.
and so at San Jose State.
Gotcha.
So I got a firsthand view of the gatherings and stuff, because they would have family barbecues and the guys would come over, and so I got to meet them that way. And then once came time for, oh hey, you want to come to this party? And it's like, oh yeah, go check that out. And so I got to see it. So I knew NAC way before the whole concept of pledging at Santa Clara came up.
That's wild. I never heard that story. So you were going to NAC parties at San Jose State while you were a freshman and sophomore at Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Cool. And so
that presented some interesting challenges, though. Once I was online, I'll tell you that much.
Especially those guys
during
were pledging.
The summer. Oh man, I was pledging, and it's if you're not in school, you're thinking, oh, I can be a little bit more lax about my habits, but in terms of having a binder in your hand and being ready to give the greeting and all that good stuff. Back when we had all those things to do as a pledge, having to do that at my girlfriend's parents' house, like it created an interesting dynamic. So,
well, no, I don't think not many people throughout the organization have had to pledge over the summer. I think that's a very unique experience, just the same.
I can't remember if you talked with John about this, but I know that we were presented with the dilemma of okay, and I'm going to date. I'm fully putting it out. I know I'm old as dirt, but this is only going to prove it. We're thinking about going to Summer Jam, and we've got crap. Do we want to be the guys at Summer Jam with our NAC binders? Like, honestly, I can't even remember if we decided to go or not. Like, it was that much of a deal. Like, we were like, but yeah, to your point. I don't know that there's many other classes, if any, that had to pledge over the summer.
Not many,
organization wide, not just at Eta.
Yeah, for sure. So when these guys, were you at Santa Clara? Were you into Mecha, or what orgs were you into, if any, before NAC started rolling?
Yeah, so definitely Mecha. Freshman year, did all of the activities with them. And then what's the so I started out engineering at Santa Clara.
Okay.
What's the
Chalice.
Yeah.
Chalice.
So we had when I was kind of like undeclared engineering, kind of found my way to that group as well. It literally was just kind of an offshoot of Mecha, because there was only so many of us, but we were talking about different things, but yeah, those were the two main ones that I was involved with, other than intramurals and stuff that everybody does.
And so were you at the Mecha meeting that supposedly, as the story goes, that Sean brought up, hey man, I'm trying to start something?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember it all that vividly, but I would be willing to bet yes that I definitely was there. And as far as no, you know what, it's coming back to me being downstairs at MCC and kind of putting it out there, and those initial get-togethers that we had as Los Hermanos. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the formative stages of that group, and kind of just getting the ball rolling from there.
This was in, I'm guessing, like 1992, right? At that time, did you have any idea of what it could grow into or how big of an impact it could have? Or were you just a college guy?
No, well, I think I thought, I'm pretty sure I saw the potential for it. And that's what got me so excited about being a part of it was, this was my chance to carve out a legacy for a really unique group that had the chance to live a long time and have impact on guys much later down the road. I did recognize that possibility. Was that my sole focus? Absolutely not. That was something that I thought about, but the thing that I was just more interested in was creating that option that didn't already exist for guys like myself that could use another alternative to creating that sense of family, especially on campus and in that frame of life where some guys were moving away from home for the first time and maybe feeling a little bit of a homesickness. This was a good substitute and a good kind of alternative to build family away from family and kind of grow in that way. I saw that in our group because there were a lot of guys that I know, especially in the founders and the alpha class, that kind of fit that exact description where there was kind of looking for that new family, and our organization fit that bill perfectly.
Did your parents go to college?
No.
So your first generation, your first one in your family to go to college?
Yeah. Across on both sides. Yeah, I was the first one to walk, to even go to walk the whole nine.
That's incredible. That is so. I teach at a local technical community college, and when we do our graduations, they ask for folks. It's like, hey, if you're the first one in your family to ever graduate from college, go ahead and stand up. And it brings tears to my eyes every time because I fully understand that those individuals completely changed the trajectory of their family forever.
Everybody behind them.
Yeah, they changed for their younger siblings, for their children. And we oftentimes will have, because it's a technical college, we'll have grown adults, 45-year-olds, career changers, second career type of folks changing. And it's like, you literally, like your 18, 17-year-old kid is sitting in the audience seeing this, and showing that you can change your life at any time.
For sure.
And so, so anytime I hear that, I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah. Think about that. Like you said, that's a good word. The trajectory is completely altered in a good way, and I had the good fortune of, just all of the opportunities that were presented to me and being able to capitalize on them and do the things that I did. One of the things that was the fruits of that labor was the ability to speak from experience to my younger cousins. Mm-hmm. And like you said, alter that trajectory for them, or at least be the vehicle that happens through, potentially, like being that resource. Now they've got somebody that they can talk to about, hey, what should I be thinking about? What's college? Or not even them asking me, just telling them, hey, this is what I'm going through. Or as I'm at Santa Clara, or even at, shortly after, sharing my experience of, this is what life is like, or just giving them a glimpse of, this is possible to me. If I want it, I just got to go out and get it, and So one, opening their eyes to that possibility, and then two, being that resource to give them the tools that they need to be set up for that path for success, and helping in any way that I can. Again, going back to that man for others motif that we were talking about at the front, that was my initial path, or my initial way of doing that I felt like, okay, yeah, this is where I can really have an impact. And, just trying to help my family, my cousins, kind of figure out their path as well, and kind of laying the groundwork and giving them a voice of experience that they could rely on.
That's fantastic, man. This has been just such a blast talking with the bros who I haven't talked with in a long time.
I can imagine, man. I've been following you guys, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't talked to him in forever too.
It's been incredible. And one of the most like just fulfilling, heartwarming parts about it is to see the amount that folks have given back. Not only did they grow up and do well for themselves and theirs, but then how much they're contributing to their greater communities, and being basically what I call it is providing exposure to folks who may or may not have ever seen a brown man doing, it's like how many brown dudes are there that get to JD MBTs from SC? Like, it's not a lot. Yeah, it's more than it used to be.
No, yeah.
It's more than it used to be. But now you serve as this model that it can be done. It can be done, and it's like, well, now that I know it can be done, well, maybe I might do it.
Yeah, and just going back to the NAC perspective too. I mean, that was one of the pillars that we were trying to instill in the organization that we were building as far as community involvement. The biggest part of that being recruitment and hosting, high schools, middle schools, whatever, just finding those groups that we could bring on campus and open their eyes of, look, we look just like you. We come from your same middle school. We went to Markham, we went to Quimby, we went, you name it. We're just like you, and we're doing great. You can do it too. This is what it looks like. Come and check it out, and I'm hopeful that, at least it happened at least once in terms of us having an impact on some of the younger folks that are like, you know what, I can do this. And I want to go to San Jose State, or I want to go wherever, and so that maybe we did have an impact. I like to think that we did.
Oh, I guarantee you did. I think I got a chance to talk with Sean Herrera and then Mark Hoyt, the same as far as from the founders. And so now I'll tell you, like I told them, NAC fundamentally changed my life. Absolutely 100% changed my life for the better. For years and years, and to this day, I look back at that time and the lessons that I learned, and the things that it changed my life in so many phenomenal ways, from the road trips and the gatherings and the parties and all the brotherhood, but on the foundational pieces of what's possible and seeing bros do big things, like really, really big things. It contributed greatly to who I am today. And I think I've come out wonderfully.
Yeah, I would agree, man. I would agree.
To be my humble self, I'll say that. But the NAC played so much a role, and so if it weren't for you and Sean and John and all the other founders and the alphas and the betas, it wouldn't. I could have never experienced it. So to get to sit here, and just thank you for, number one, having the vision, number two, carrying forward, even though you didn't know. You might have had an idea, you might have had a hope, but no, this is it embodied. And then getting to talk to these much younger guys than me and see the impact that it had on them. I tell them, it's like, oh yeah, I crossed in 99. And they're like, oh my God, I wasn't born in 99. It's like, okay, well, I guess.
Funny how life does that to you, right?
That's right. So
I've had the experience where, and I laugh every time this happens. It doesn't happen often anymore, being that I'm in Sacramento. But it did happen last year when we had we had a Bell reunion, and as you said before, there were a lot of NACs there, and we had name tags. And there was I can't remember the bro's name, but there was a younger cat that was just out of school, and he he said, "What's up?" to me. And then he looked at my name tag. And he was like, "Oh, I know who you are." And then John had already told me, had pointed him out and said that he was a bro. And I was like, "Yeah, you remember you know what my name is, right?" And he's like, "I go, you got a little special place in your memory banks for our names, right?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah." So
he's like, "I know your nickname too."
Laugh at that. Yeah, exactly.
That's
like I said,
awesome.
that doesn't happen nearly as much now that I'm not in the Bay.
Okay, so we're running up on the hour. I want to be super respectful of your time, but I do have a couple fun questions. Let's do the first one. 5 favorite artists. That could be authors, artists, musicians, painters, whoever.
Oh, it's all
directors,
music focused,
actors.
man.
Sure.
Yeah, no,
sure.
I'm a music head, man. Everybody that knows me, it's all about music. So that's tough, man. 5. How do I limit it just to 5? I would probably go Marvin Gaye, Bob Marley, Prince, not in any order, because that's hard. Picking between those. Actually, here, let me. Can I do this? I'm trying to fix my. No, it's not going to let me. I won't waste time trying to figure it out. But these frames that I have blurred out, the reason I have them blurred out is because I'm using it for work. These are all record covers that are CD covers. All of like the meaningful cover art that I have. But so yeah, I already said 2 or 3 of them. Carlos Santana is another one.
Nice.
Who else? I gotta give a hip hop head, so I would probably go. If I had to pick it's hard because it's a group. Like I would think Tribe Called Quest is one of probably my favorites. So
good.
Yeah,
wonderful. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at some point were you DJing, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, that's me.
So how deep have you been into it?
So I guess it depends on how you define deep. While I was in the city, I had gigs. I had spots that I would spin at every, I don't know, month, 6 weeks, whatever, just depending on how busy I was. Developed some good relationship with some bar owners that they knew me pretty well, and I could just hit them up. Hey, what's your schedule look like? Do you need somebody? And they would let me know what they had open, and if it lined up, I would go spin for a Saturday or whatever. But that was when I was in San Francisco. Once I left the city, I still had my equipment, and I still did it kind of just in my own, guest room or whatever. But not really kind of in front of folks. It was more just at home and for family functions and whatnot. The pandemic opened that door again, man, because I discovered Twitch. Probably around May or June of 2020. And there's a ton of amazing DJs on Twitch, man. And it gave me that outlet that I needed to not feel so damn cooped up and bored and just feel like I'm wasting time not doing anything. It was a community that, that you could, through a chat function, become a part of, and you're seeing these just dope DJs just get down, and like just it was just, I thought it was the best thing going. So like, and I have it on another screen. I was watching it right before we got on together. So I just have that going in the background typically now. And so that's kind of brought me back in, because now that I moved to Sacramento, there's a couple of Sacramento DJs that are on Twitch that I've connected with. And so now that is kind of opening the door of, okay, maybe I can establish those relationships at spots here in Sac and then get myself in just the same way that I was doing in the city. Just to be able to do it. So actually here, let me show you. This is my office, but oh shoot, you can't see it. It's blurred out. Those are my decks right there.
Sure.
shoot, I wish I didn't have it blurred out.
No, that's okay. I got the
But yeah,
gist.
so that's it's still a part of me. It's still right there in front of me, and I've got all my vinyl underneath it. So like I said,
the dream lives.
Music head through and through, man. Rick Rivera, all of our other music head bros. Well, they are on the same, come from the same DNA.
Love it. 5 dinner guests, dead or alive.
Oh, dude, come on, man. Let's see. I probably have a few of those, that first 5 that I gave you. I would, dead or alive. Oof. But that's 1 o'clock. Geez, I would think it would be pretty cool to meet Barack. Who else? Oh man, that's a tough one, man. Again, I would still go with the music folks, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I roll. So I probably wouldn't stray too far from that list.
I dig it. So what's some of the best advice you've ever been given?
Ooh, best advice that I've been given. Let's see. We recently had to do this for work. It was kind of an icebreaker thing, like come up with a mantra or a philosophy or a phrase that you kind of live by or that means something to you. And I was kind of struggling at first to come up with one, but then I was like, yeah, nothing beats Yoda, man. Do or do not. There is no try. There is no try. Like just go, never half-ass it. Mm-hmm. Figure out what your goal is and do everything in your power to make it happen. I guess that's another way of saying the same thing. Make it happen. I'm a big believer in just that concept of do whatever you need to do to set your goal and make it a reality. So that's from a day to day. That's what I like to do, and I'm hoping that I'm laying the groundwork for my girls to kind of see life in that same lens and give them the tools to do that exact same thing.
Perfect. All right. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you did. Thank you for starting NAC, helping start NAC. And the last question that everybody gets is, who else should I have on the show? With the stipulation that you got to help me get them on.
Who else? See, you've talked of the founders, you've talked to Sean and John.
Yep. And Berto said he says he's going to do it, but he's a tough guy to get a hold of. So,
Chewy would be good.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I don't know how many of his stories he could share with you.
I know. That's what I've definitely thought about that. I'm like, those are probably all classified.
Oh yeah. But, yeah, just in terms of, everybody's got our interesting story, man, as far as coming up, that's unique and different and really cool to hear about. So I don't want to say, oh, so-and-so's got the coolest story, because it's not really that. But I'm just thinking in terms of life path, to think that when I was online and in the organization, to think that, oh yeah, we've got a federal DEA agent amongst us, in the making. That's not something I would have predicted. But like we said, that's the funny thing that life does,
That's right. Who of the founders are you still in decently close contact with?
Well, thanks to John, because I see John. Well, John and I we're of all of us, I think we see each other the most. But then because of his wide net, we just did a Vegas trip in February for his birthday, where I got to see a lot of bros that I haven't seen in a long time, which was just awesome, man. Chewy was there. I mentioned Rick earlier. He was there. Ray Barrow. I see Ray a lot, actually, now that I think about it, because he's in Oakland. When I was in Alameda, we got together a lot. Freddie's in I think Pleasanton, or no, not Pleasanton. I forget where, but I know he's on that side of the bay. So the three of us used to get together a lot. But then the trip to Vegas, that was just awesome, man. It was just like the old days, but just, plan us all in Vegas and, having a good time. So
love it. Love it. All right, bro. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I hope this is just the beginning of us staying in closer contact. I know we aren't going to hang out every weekend, but if we can stay in touch, and if there's anything I can ever do for you, by all means, count me in.
Yeah, man. Same here, dude. I super thankful to you in terms of just creating this, man. I thought, what a great idea. Like it's one thing, but it's also one thing to have the idea. It's the other one to actually make it happen.
Make it happen.
Like, and putting, this out and creating it. I'm sure it takes work. And so the fact that you're willing to put in that time and effort, thank you, man. This is really cool.
I absolutely believe that I benefit more than anybody else. It's a blessing to me more than anybody, but it's for sure worth it.
Cool, man.
All right.
Right on, dude.
Peace, brother. Thanks so much.
Peace to you, man.
Bye.
Take care.
Until next time, bros. That's my story and I'm sticking to it.